Okay. Hello, everyone. Warm welcome to everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from in the world and what time zone you are in. We're excited to have you join us for this year's World Education Week celebration. And we have a virtual event this year that we are truly excited about because that means a bigger participation for us, and that means a bigger presence, and that means everyone all over the world gets to join us, and location is not a barrier this year. My name is Lucky Adeline Anoma. I'm a fellow at Lead for Ghana. I teach and work in the Depema community, and I'll be your moderator for this particular session. I'd like to fondly acknowledge T4 for being the huge brain behind this year's World Education Week celebration, for pulling all the right strings that have brought us together to this particular show to have a fruitful discussion. And Lead for Ghana is an organization that is working to reduce educational inequalities in Ghana. Lead for Ghana works in underserved communities to provide and expand educational opportunity to all children in Ghana. And we have the big vision that one day every child in Ghana would have access to an excellent education. We are so excited because the purpose for this year's World Education Week has the theme Learning Today. And we believe that this is very important to reawaken and quicken efforts at achieving the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is quality education, especially now that efforts have been significantly slowed in achieving SDG 4 because of coronavirus pandemic. For this particular session, we'll be looking, our discussions will be bordering on the theme deepening family and community engagement. And of course, for this specific session, we'll be talking about what makes a successful family and community engagement for schools. And we'll also be touching on the issues of inclusive education, and notably also the important issue of physical and emotional abuse for children, and how we can have responses to these issues that also gear towards family and community engagement for this. So it's going to be really exciting, and I have just the panel to help us lend perspective onto this issue. They'll be joining us in the conversation. They'll be sharing their insights, talking about their experiences. They'll share their perspectives with us, and we'll have a really fruitful discussion. Of course, you, wherever you are joining us from the world, watching us, listening to us, you are not left out of the conversation. You can be a part of it using our communication hashtag on social media, hashtag World Edu Week, hashtag World Edu Week on Twitter, World Edu Week on Instagram, on Facebook, and all our communication handles as well. You can equally tag at us at Lead for Ghana on Twitter, at Lead for Ghana on Instagram, and at Lead for Ghana on Facebook. And so I'll be introducing my resource panel to us today. These people would be helping us with their experiences and helping us talk about the issues on board today. So for my first speaker, he's in the person of Dr. Isahak Munawaru. Dr. Isahak is the Director of Education under GES, that is Ghana Education Service for Saviligu Municipality. He is a former head teacher of a senior high school in Ghana called T.I. Ahmadiyya Senior High School. He works with 67 primary and kindergarten schools and also 34, I beg your pardon, 37 junior high schools in Ghana to provide academic excellence. And of course, he's very passionate about his work and helping children and school children to achieve their academic goals as well. He's my first speaker. He'll be talking to us briefly. I also have two fellows from Lead for Ghana joining in the conversation. I have Mr. Tariq Alassan, who is a teaching fellow at Huria Islamic Junior High School in Tamale, Ghana. And we also have Mr. Manasseh Danso. Manasseh Danso is also a teaching fellow working at Yoo R Junior High School. And last, definitely not the least, we have a student joining us for this particular session. And that's really exciting because I feel it's refreshing for us to have the perspective and the voice of the people that we are having this whole conversation to benefit. So we have Alassan Fatal joining us. Alassan Fatal is a school prefect of Yoo R Junior High School. He's very passionate, hardworking, and dedicated to his duties at school. Fatal, with his colleagues, came up with a fantastic idea to make contributions and renovate or paint their school blocks. And they've been successfully able to do that. And they are currently seeking for funding to paint their last school block. And of course, there's me to balance the gender and to bring it all to bear. So welcome, gentlemen. And thank you so much for making time to join this conversation. I believe that out of your busy schedules, you've been able to fix us in, and we are so grateful for that. Without further talk, I would want to go straight ahead and ask my first question, and I think I'll direct that to Dr. Isahak Munawaru. So, Doctor, I mean, studies and research has proven that involving stakeholders in value creation and in the decision-making processes of any institution can be of great benefit to the performance of that particular institution and its long-time survival, essentially. Now, as a director of education, you have had the opportunity to engage and work with various stakeholders. You've worked with teachers, you've worked with parents, and you currently even do so working with students as well. What would you consider to be the outlined processes in co-creating a vision with stakeholders? And can you share with us some of the strategies that you've used and also if there have been any challenges?
For this opportunity. I must say that the Sub-Legal Municipal Education Office is under the number of municipalities and the metropolitan areas that are in Ghana, and that aims policies and the broad goal to ensure that quality all children of school without regards to sex or ability. That is to address the question of equitable provision of quality pre-tertiary education. And where it comes to the creation vision, it's important to the sustainable shared vision. In that case, we want to ensure that stakeholders in education, parents, teachers, pupils, and development partners, all stakeholders within the traditional area are involved in deciding what future you want for the education of the children committees. And now that you have any vision you want to run with the education system,
Thank you very much, Doctor, for such an insightful response to the question. I'll be coming back to you a little shortly. Yes, so I'll move straight to Mr. Tariq Alasan, who's teaching fellow, for my next question. And I mean, I'm coming to you that the provision of inclusive education has become a very important goal of the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service, so much so that in the year 2015, an inclusive education policy was developed. And this policy reiterates the fact that every child of school-going age, despite their disabilities and special educational needs, should have access to quality education. The policy also recognizes, the varied educational needs of different learners in any learning setting, and how education should be inclusive to meet the various needs of these learners. Now, as a teaching fellow, how do you plan your lessons to ensure that they meet the various needs of different students with disabilities and different learning educational needs in your classroom or in your school? And also, how would your provision of that sort of an education engage the family? How does it connect to engaging families and deepening our engagements with the community in our schools?
Thank you very much. Good day to you, wherever you're joining us from. So, in order to ensure inclusive education in planning our lessons, we have employed several strategies, and I will share with you a few of them that we think are very feasible and can be replicated anywhere elsewhere. So, the first thing I would say is to know our students, their parents, and their families very well. And what we do here is to invest in students and their families. And the first thing we do is to visit students. We call home visits. And in this case, we do that to be able to know the living conditions of the students, the challenges students are facing in their respective homes, and how we can address these problems collaboratively with the parents and the families as well. So when we visit the students in their homes, we sit with parents to discuss with them how they can also support the students to learn even when they are in their houses. In this case, we take the opportunity to also invite parents to our respective classrooms and the schools as well, so that they will observe the lessons that are being carried out in the schools and the classroom as well. So at the end of the day, parents are able to make inputs into the lessons, and when we are planning our lessons, we take into consideration all these things we've discussed with them, so that it will be an inclusive one for every student that is in the classroom. So we discuss challenges that students are facing in the classroom and how parents can also contribute to addressing these challenges. We also make follow-ups to certain students. We know some of these students have genuine challenges when it comes to learning and in the classroom and even outside the classroom. So as students even leave the classroom to their respective homes, we make follow-up calls with the parents to discuss with them the challenges that the students are facing and how we can address them. Most of these calls are specific to particular students because we know they are facing that challenges, and we need to address them to be able to make sure that it is an inclusive learning environment for every student. We know that all this engagement with the parents, the communities, and the students give us the opportunity to know them better, to understand them, so that when we are even planning our lessons, we are able to include certain activities into our teaching and learning activities, so that it will relate to student experiences in their life, so that they will understand it better. The other strategy we also employ here is differentiation. And what we mean here is that when we're planning our lesson, we make sure that we have group works, we have individual assignments, we have videos, we have presentations, such that each student, we know our students that they have several learning strategies. So when we plan our lessons, we ensure that these learning strategies are incorporated into the lessons. Some are able to learn very well when they are in groups. Some learn very well when they are at the individual level. Some learn very well when they watch videos or they do presentations. So we ensure that all these mixed activities are in our lessons to ensure that students get the best out of the lesson. And we do this at the best when we engage parents, the community, and the students at whole, because we know that if we don't know them, if we don't know your students very well, you will not be able to plan this and you will not be able to deliver this very well. And all this stems from your engagement with the community and the families of the students as a whole. So we also ensure that classroom arrangement. In this case, we ensure that when you are arranging your classroom, you know some specific students have challenges when they are seated at some particular point. For instance, if in your classroom you have some students who have problems with vision, when they are far away from the board, they are not able to sit well. So you ensure that these students, when you are arranging your classroom, you make sure they are closer to the board, such that they'll be able to see and be able to contribute massively to the lesson, so that the inclusive lesson we are talking about will be an effective one. So we know that all this we are doing is the help of our engagement with the parents, the school, and the community, that is giving us that opportunity to be able to understand them well and be able to plan our lessons effectively. Thank you very much. We know that this can be replicated elsewhere in case we are able to understand it better. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Twarik Alasan, for sharing that experiential point of view with us. And I feel, as you spoke, there were lots of things that resonated with me and I could relate to, because as a teaching fellow too, it is very essential to know your peoples and then the families that they come from. Engaging their families go a long way to influence how you can plan your lessons and how these lessons can meet the various needs of the student. Before I go to my next speaker, I'd like to prompt you all that as you listen to us and as you watch us, if you have any questions, comments, or contributions, you can put them in there, type them in the Q&A box, and we'll be reading them and addressing them. So I'll move to you, Manasseh, as a teaching fellow. So, I mean, in Ghana here, most students with, disability and learning, a different learning needs tend to drop out of school, largely due to stigmatization in the school and external communities, and also, inferiority complex. And that's an issue we constantly experience. Based on your experience, how are you able to create a positive climate, right? A positive climate that, helps students with disabilities and different learning needs to meet their various academic, personal, career, emotional goals, both inside and then outside the school. And also, again, how are you able to engage families and the community to help you to meet that particular goal?
Thank you very much, Ms. Lucky Yardley. I'll say that it's an honor me to be on this call to share my thoughts on the topic on board. I would say that having students with special educational needs in your classroom provides you with both an opportunity and a reason to engage and deepen your relationship with the families. This because depending on the severity of the condition of this child, you may want to refer the child to a specialist for assistance, and that you cannot do it with your own authority. So it means that for us to practice inclusive education well, families cannot be left out, and the community members too can also never be left out. What I would say is that most of these students tend to drop out of school because the students and their family are not aware of the various support systems that are available for the students. It is therefore imperative on us as educators to engage the families and the society as a whole on the various support systems ranging from specialists to devices that are available to these students to help them achieve their goals. An example, in my school, there is a student by name Abdullah Sahada, and by the help of a teacher, we were able to identify that she has an impairment with hearing. And so therefore, this teacher engaged the family and then they discussed about this condition and the various support systems that are available for her. And as a result, the father has been able to purchase an assistive listening device for the students, and then she is enjoying the classroom with her colleagues. One of the things that drives the stigmatization, I would say, is the kind of superstitious beliefs that we attribute to this condition. In part of the world, most of us have the mindset that every happening is of spiritual cause, and so therefore individuals want to have nothing to do with these students nor their family. So it is therefore incumbent on educators to educate the students, their family, and the community at large on most of the causes of these conditions, so that there will be a shift in mindset. It's also very good that they also let them understand that this condition could also happen to them or their walls, and so therefore it will help them develop empathy for them to accept the students in their community and the school that they find themselves. One of the things that I do in my classroom is to help my students develop self-confidence and self-acceptance spirit. So because of this, when I'm going to start my class, I try to use positive words or song, which I learned at Institute when I was going through training to become a fellow lead for Ghana. If Mike is on this call, I think you remember teaching us a song like, I love my body, I love my body, everybody, I love my body, and my body loves me. Because of time, I cannot sing all the song. But before and after we sing this song, I allow my students to get a notion that no matter who you are, whether you are tall, whether you are short, whether you are fat, thin, blind, this is how you have been created. And so therefore, you need to appreciate your nature. And because of this, students now accept who they are, and then they're able to develop their self-confidence among themselves, and then they are not intimidated by what people say outside. Lastly, I've been able to explain the importance of networking and then connectivity to my students, and then they are aware that for them to be very successful, they will need the help of others, and then the network starts from the colleagues that they are in the classroom with. Because for now, from 15 years from now, we need to be able to tell the next doctor, the next entrepreneur, the next doctor or any other profession among them. And so therefore, because you know that you are going to occupy various space of life, you have no option than to show respect to your colleagues. And so as part of our classroom contract, insult is not accepted in my classroom. So my class is a full of fun, and then these students have these positive feelings, and then they also want to join. And I would say that in summary, for us to be able to help these students maintain their stand in the educational ladder, we need, as a school, work together with a family, with a community, so that these students will be able to still maintain their stand in the school and then achieve their goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manasseh Danso. It was refreshing to listen to some of the specific initiatives you use in your classroom to, identify and address issues of inclusivity as well. And I specifically love that. I mean, as teachers, we have to keep an open eye for some of the issues that our pupils might be going through and certain learning challenges that they have. And I like that you touched that after identifying these issues, it is imperative to work hand in hand with the family, because without them, it is difficult to achieve. And hopefully, I'm hoping more and more parents are open to accepting these issues and working hand in hand with teachers. I'll go straight to Fatal now. Like I mentioned earlier, Fatal is a student of Yoo R Junior High School, and he's with us on this call, and we're so excited to have him. So, Fatal, has there ever been a time where you picked a book and studied, or any learning material to study outside the classroom, and it wasn't because a teacher or your parents prompted you, or it wasn't also because you had an exam or you had a quiz or something to look forward to that you had to study? Tell us about such a moment, and if there has been, what usually motivates you to do?
Thank you very much, madam. I'm so privileged to be on this panel with highly experienced individuals and to speak for the whole world to hear my voice. Yes, I've ever picked my book, not just to write an exam or a test, and not being prompted by anybody. What motivated me to do that is my desire to know new things. We all know that the world is evolving or changing, and new thing keeps coming every day. So in order to abreast with time, I devote myself to studies. I study things within and outside what I'm being taught in class in order to make me knowledgeable. Moreover, what motivates me to study without being prompted is my career aspiration, which is to become a medical doctor. I know that I cannot become a medical doctor if I do not give myself to studies. Sometimes I felt lazy to study, but picturing myself in a medical suite with my tools in hand makes me energized and ready to learn. Also, my peers or my friends who like studying always come for me whenever they are going to study. Like I have one friend called Abbas, who usually comes to my house whenever he's going to studies. Then we go together and discuss lessons. Also, my brother is a math teacher in one of the senior high schools in Savalibu. And when he sees that I'm not more learning or not studying, he called me and gave me the necessary advice. I think these are the things that keeps me on my toes to learn always. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatal, for sharing with us some of your moments of initiative. I'm proud of you, and I see you in your medical suits in the not too distant future. I'll be coming back to you to take your comment on another issue. but at this point, I'll be going to Doctor to get his perspective on another very important issue of abuse that I mentioned we'll be touching on in this discussion. Remember that you can keep your questions and answers in the Q&A box, type them and leave them there. We'll be attending to them later on in the conversation. You can also use the hashtag World Edu Week on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can tag at us at Lead for Ghana on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram with your comments, your questions, and your suggestions. All right, so I'll be coming to read some of the comments a bit later after we speak to Doctor and get his insights on this. Doctor, I mean, as at 2013, statistics stood at 57% and 34% for children who are beaten at home and children who are beaten at school by teachers respectively. An estimated total of 3.4 million children in Ghana have experienced physical or emotional abuse. And these are really staggering statistics. Based on your experience as director, how has your leadership been able to stem this issue? What gains have you made? And also, how have the local schools been involved in helping to resolve this issue of maltreatment both at schools and at home? And lastly, how can we engage families and rope in the community in our efforts to achieve a stop to the issue of maltreatment to students?
Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to address this issue worldwide. There are a number of structures that we deploy in the Ghana Education Service that we deploy. Apart from this, we also work with relevant agencies within the states. There are other ways we resolve these things without resorting to last resort. The reason being that where a child is abused, whether in school or in the house, some issues are treated as civil, others are treated as criminal. What we normally do is to again ignite the support base that we have from traditional authorities, the assembly members that are there, the opinion leaders that are in the system. But before you go to deal with any one of these, you that when you put the person in a bad light, it ends up, traumatizing the child. You don't know whether the first event or offense or activity or experience is the one that may traumatize the person, or the approach you use. For instance, if you want to solve a problem that affects a youngster and you make it public and the person is invited to some kind of a gathering between 3, 4, 5 people, then you may not be helping the person. So we have the guidance and counseling system within the structure of the school system, either at the basic level or senior high school level, or even at the office. They are deployed to go out and provide direct guidance. There are also opportunities for counseling where children or even sometimes parents walk in, and depending on the situation, you know how to professionally go through such a problem. Where you know that it goes beyond a civil issue, you know how you refer it to the state agencies that are in charge of dealing with criminal issues. But we also deploy the partnership that school enjoys with, or the schools enjoy with. We want to sensitize the community to understand. These are things from Act 506. These are the rights of the children in relation to education. These are the rights of children in relation to their social life and health. And so parents are taking through these things. But where you realize that the person is even abused and is not aware or is not willing to take it out, the system through school health and education program they are generally in charge of health and safety. They corroborate with the guidance and counseling units, and then we all come in to ensure that the phenomenon is, stemmed in tide. It's important that stakeholders normally refer to these structures to ensure that whatever issues that are there, you encourage them to use a laid down procedure. Sometimes some people may want to, sweep these things under carpet. You know how to handle them to get the desired results without having to bring any challenges between the school system and the community. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Isahak, for sharing with us how your leadership addresses issues of abuse like this and how important it is to leverage on the school community relationship in addressing some issues and making sure that they are addressed appropriately. I'd like to, at this point, say a big thank you to people who have joined us on this conversation of today's session. We have joining as the lead for Ghana community. We have staff, fellows of and students even of the lead for Ghana community who are joining the conversation, who are listening to us and partaking. We also have the Teach for All network and members who have joined for this session. We equally have the T4 community that has made this possible for us, and we have Vikas Porter, CEO of T4, being a part of this session today. We are so honored that you could make time to join us, and we have a few comments in the Q&A box I'd like to read out. I think there's a comment that says, very insightful. Knowing your students is a sure way to go if you want to meet their needs appropriately. And this is coming from Avis. We also have another comment that says, in rural areas in India, it is tough. Well, I can't really make the connection to what is tough, but well, thank you so much for your comments and for sharing your insights. You can also keep sharing your comments, your questions on the Q&A box, and we'll be attending to them as and when the time is appropriate. I'll be moving the conversation now to the direction of Fatal, where I want him to respond to this particular issue. So Fatal, we are joined on this call by a lot of educators the world over who have made time to be a part of today's session. In your opinion, as a student, what do you think educators and then your families and community can do to support students like you, students like your friends and your mates, to be able to own your learning?
Thank you very much, madam. What I think educators can do is, educators can help us own our learning by considering the knowledge and interests of individual students when drafting their lessons. Learning is so fun when one gets a solid foundation on which he or she can build. Most of my colleagues refuse to study just because they lack the basic concepts pertaining to what we study in school. Although some of my colleagues just refuse to study, what will even motivate a child who can't even read to study? This means the child is already been demotivated and will not even learn even when he or she is prompted to do so. So educators must therefore come to our level and build their lessons on our own interest. Educators can know more about us by then developing a strong relationship with us and our family. For instance, Mr. Kanatik, a past fellow of Lead for Ghana, did that for me, and through which he helped me build my vocabulary, which became a strong foundation for me to understand lessons in class. Educators can also help us by sharing with us or giving us advices of individual people who were struggling in learning but later made it through perseverance. These stories keep the spirit in us alive and tell us that we can rise above our struggles. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatal. Very interesting comments from you there. And I'm very positive that educators who are listening to us will take your contribution and advisement. I'll go to the Q&A box now, and we have a couple of comments buzzing in there. This one is from Yakubu Mohammed Jibril, and he says, very lively conversation so far. I'm enjoying every bit of it. Thank you, Jibril. Most especially the concise and brilliant submission by Abdul Fattah. Well done. Thank you, Jibril. And we also have another one from Mariam, and it says, it's a question that says, what training process do guidance and counselors receive in schools? Are they standalone roles or additional roles assigned to teachers? I think I would delegate this question to Dr. Sahak to respond to that. She says, what training processes do guidance and counselors officers receive in schools? Are they standalone roles or additional roles assigned to teachers?
Well, guidance and counseling.
Okay, Doc, I think your microphone is muted. You'd have to come off mute to respond to that. Thank you.
Be in charge of guidance and counseling without necessarily being professionally trained. But I'm saying as a policy now, many schools, if not all schools, and then the educational officers, people are assigned directly to be in charge of guidance and counseling. And for the guidance and counseling officer, he's trained in almost all areas of guidance and then programs and courses that relate to counseling, for them to be able to ensure that they coordinate the activities of guidance and counseling masters and coordinators senior high schools and basic schools. There are also policies about assignments in all the schools in Ghana. Just where the assignment, in situations where you find that there is workload, they may not give you more than 12 credits. But where the school is large, you are assigned to ensure that you take care of meeting children and then guiding them, also sitting back and then providing counseling to them as and when. Then you also provide career counsel to ensure that they grow what they perceive, what opportunities that will be available to them. Clearly, they are professionally trained in Ghana to be in charge of guidance and counseling in the various schools.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I hope Mariam heard your response, and that was very educative. I have a few comments in the comment section, and this one is coming from Livingstone Delali Agbo, and he says, very inspiring session, team. We need to make a conscious effort to engage key stakeholders in our student education and learning. Some students have underlying challenges, and it's very prudent to invest in parents to be a better position to support them. The success of a teacher is dependent on the collaborative efforts of teachers, parents and families, communities, and the students themselves. And he also says, great submission by Fatal. All right, so I'll pause there for now, and I'd like to say thank you so much to our speakers once again for coming up with such strong perspectives and learning points that we can learn from. Before we conclude, I think this has been really fruitful, and Lead for Ghana as an organization has developed a strategy, community engagement and family engagement strategy over the period of COVID-19 when schools were closed to directly engage the students and their families and communities. And in practice of this framework and strategies that were developed, we have come to learn certain very fruitful lessons that we would love to share with the world on how they can better engage families and communities towards educational success of their pupils. And I'd like to share the 5 steps to replicate our practice with the world. The first is co-setting vision with stakeholders and spelling out the function of each of them. I believe Dr. touched very well on this particular one in his first submission. It is important for students to develop holistically, that we engage or we co-set a vision with their families, their parents, their community, so that we can all have one central vision that we are working towards. Otherwise, there's a tendency for the vision to not be supported or for the vision to fail, because the school cannot have one vision for the people that is divergent from what parents and the community are hoping for their pupils. So it is important to, after co-setting this vision with them, to spell out the functions of each stakeholder and enforce the activities and responsibilities of each stakeholder. Second is getting parents and community members to support student learning. And at Lead for Ghana, we do this effectively through home visits, through phone calls to parents, and also leveraging on social media networks, creating social media networks for the schools and getting to engage their parents through these social media networks. Teachers need to create cordial relationships with their students, and it is very clear that without knowing your students well, it becomes difficult to adequately meet their needs. And I think Fatal mentioned that from a student perspective, that, I mean, if you know my interests as a student, it is easier for me to relate to the lessons, and it's easier for you to have me in mind when you are even planning this. This was also keenly stated by our Lead for Ghana fellows on the session, Tuareg and then Manasseh. And the third is that we need to support students who are going through maltreatment at home. And this is important because once we are able to engage families that the student is from, it helps us to be able to create a better environment for the students in classroom and to address the issues of abuse and maltreatment at home. It is also imperative for us not to alienate parents and communities, direct families of students who are undergoing maltreatment or who are experiencing various forms of abuse at home. But it's rather important for us to work hand in hand with these families to educate them, to influence them, and to help them make a better environment for the peoples at home. The fourth is practicing inclusive education, and diversity in the classroom roles is rooted in achieving, inclusiveness through lesson planning and through how we tackle and cater for the needs of each and every student with different learning needs into our lesson. Practicing this would help us to also engage with the families, because when we realize that there's something that should be addressed, we can easily then contact families, and families can play a good role in stemming the issue at home before the pupils even come to the classroom. The last point is encouraging students to own their learning. It is very important for parents and even teachers in the classroom to be able to provide intrinsic motivation for our pupils, because over the years we've gotten so familiar with providing and giving extrinsic motivations to pupils, and it is important for us to be able to develop these pupils into lifelong independent learners, with the motivation coming from themselves within. We need to invest in letting students know why it is important for them to be motivated by themselves and how they can also build that intrinsic motivation. Let's motivate that and let's encourage that as well. It has been a really, really wonderful session here, and we have gotten to talk about how we can deepen family and community engagement on this particular session, and I've really enjoyed every part of it. Before we go, we'd like to engage Mary to say a few words of thanks to people who have made this possible for us today. So we'll go to Mary, and from that would be a fruitful session for us. Hi, Mary, can you hear us? Hello.
Thank you, Ms. Lucky. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the headmaster, the teachers, and the entire students of Yoo R Junior High School, I extend a very hearty thanks to T4 for selecting our school to be part of this year's World Education Week Global Showcase of 100 schools. A big thank you to Lead for Ghana for partnering with T4 to make this happen, especially Mr. Sam, who was supportive from the beginning till now. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to our panelists for availing themselves to be part of the discussion. That is Zach and the team. Thank you very much. We also would like to acknowledge the efforts of the teachers of Yoo R Junior High School for their immense support, especially Mr. Bukari Yakubu, who is the headmaster of the school, Mr. Idrisu Yakubu, the assistant headmaster, Senoga, and Mr. Ibrahim. Thank you for your immense support. I'm also very grateful to the parents, the community members, and our students watching us all the way from the school, and to our online audience who have joined from all over the world to be part of the conversation. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be part of the conversation. Lastly, to our producers, Mr. Richard Kupulenu, who have done a marvelous job, Mr. Joachim, who is currently in the school, ensuring that those there are also part of the conversation. Thank you all for making Yoo R Junior High School's showcase a success. I go by the name Mary Aboga, a lead for Ghana fellow at Yoo R Junior High School. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mary, and thank you to everybody who has joined us over the internet, who have joined us through various channels, and who has been a part of this conversation today. We are so very grateful, and we hope that you keep the conversation alive even after here. And it's World Education Week, guys. Let's keep the hashtag alive. Let's fuel the flames of education all over the world through the hashtag World Edu Week on all social media platforms. My name is Lucky Adeline Anoma, and it's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you, and do enjoy the rest of your day.